Happy Independence, Nigerians, and happy independence to Nigeria. Of course, the much talked about October 1st, 2018 is finally here. My name is Sonny Duke Okosi, your host on this special Independence Anniversary edition of the program. I have with me in the studio the Honorable Commissioner for Arts, Culture, Tourism, and Diaspora Affairs, Edo State, Osaze Osenge. Many thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Well, happy Independence Anniversary.
Good morning.
Good to see you here. It's like white has become synonymous with you in that ministry. Is that correct?
Well, I think so. Most of white I've been told about.
Any particular reason?
No, I think it's just clean. It shows purity. So, and I like it because it suits me. So it's just my kind of thing.
Okay, that's a nice one. Yes, Nigeria at 58, arts, culture, and tourism, harnessing the potential. I mean, it's been 58 years down the line, and what are your thoughts about Nigeria at 58 as a country?
Well, to be honest, I think there's still a lot that needs to be done. With the vast, technology and civilization that we have now, I think we should do better than where we are, to be honest. But our hope is not lost. Yeah, we just keep on pushing. A lot has happened in governments that have really derailed us in the past and all that. So I'm sure with what we have now, most of the government that we have now will try to fix it and get a better future.
What do you think has been the most critical of all the challenges that we've gone through as a people?
Oh, well, instability of government has been the main thing. Military takeover, military rule, other coup d'etat and all that. So there's been a lot of problems that really destabilizes the system of the country. So, but like I said, the whole hope is not lost. Where we are now, and it can only get better.
What is your conviction about the hope that you talked about?
No, with the awareness all over the world, people are being cautious about corruption. People are being cautious about development. You can see all what's going on now, across parties, with the credibility of people that are coming about and all that. So there's more awareness now. People are no longer fools. So they want to see the credibility of the personality that this party is bringing. So it's all about credibility and that awareness that is there. So they want to see how capable you are and how qualified you are to run for the office. And so with that, by the time we start moving, from generation to generation and all that, things will change, will improve.
So policy seems to be the crux of the matter in terms of credibility of people.
Yeah.
Politics seems to be the crux of the matter. If we get it right politically, will everything just fall into place?
So gradually. We didn't have the crop of people that we have now.
Okay.
Even though at the ends of topmost phase we still have some, people that have been there for years. But things are changing. New generation is coming on board, and we are getting new leadership. And things are changing. It's very exposed and civilized and educated people that we have in government now. So that's my hope, and I know it will work for us.
Okay, let's cascade into the arts, culture, tourism business. Globally, that seems to be the in thing right now. I was watching a documentary on CGTN over the weekend, and I could see several, cities in China, for example, what has been done. In fact, you just see things that ordinarily we probably would take for granted is turned into a tourist site. I saw, a platform that is built over 800 meters above the ground. People just go there, and all they do is take selfies, and then you see the scenery above the ground and all of that. These potentials have been there over the years. What has been the major challenge in driving arts, culture, tourism to harness its potentials?
Well, in terms of in Edo State or Nigeria?
Generally.
I think it's the thinking as well. Like you said, those people go there, they value what God has given to them. Like Edo State, we are richly blessed with a lot of cultural heritage and other story sites that have not been annexed. So with this government, with this present administration, and thanks to His Excellency Godwin Obaseki, whose focus is on art, culture, and tourism, people are beginning to realize that now what God has blessed us with, and that's why we're creating that awareness. And I'm glad that the last 1 year, people have, the reawakening is there. People have decided, our culture is being embraced, our tourism is being appreciated, and what the government is doing right now, is turning things around. And that again is the new direction. In 2020, less than 2-3 years from now, major countries in the world are not going to be using petrol cars anymore. So the new direction, we need to look at the new direction. Agriculture alone cannot sustain us. So tourism that God has endowed us with is huge. And we have historical values, we have historical heritage sites that the tourists want to know about. They want to come back and see in Edo State, across the state. So our purpose is to bring those tourist sites to the known, tell the story about it, let people appreciate what God has given up to us. We are richly blessed, and we need to annex that, and that is what this administration is doing.
Okay, in harnessing that, do you have a sort of a layout of the locations of this tourist site using Edo State as a case study?
Of course. Well, first of all, we're designing the tourism master plan, which a lot of proposals have been sent to His Excellency, and we're waiting for, in the next few days, by the time we settle down, we'll be having a presentation of those tourism master plan to him. Then in Edo South, for example, you have a lot of those tourist sites with historical value. You have of course, the Oba of Benin Palace is a site. We have the museum that has been renovated by His Excellency, spent a lot of money in renovating the National Museum at Ring Road. We have the Igloo Street. We're having a proposal on working on reviving Igloo Street. We have the Osemige Bonhon Heritage Sites. We have, of course, Victor Waifo Art Gallery. Then you have the Captain Philip gravesite in Ugbine. Captain Philip was the British ambassador that was killed in 1897 that caused the invasion of the Benin Empire, so many years ago. We have his gravesite that have been, we've renovated it, we've cleared the grass, the signposts there. And 5 minutes drive from there, you have the Obavora and a stopover place before he was taken through Gilegile to Calabar. Then that's Ovia Northeast. Then going to Ovia Southwest, you have the Aruan statue, you have the River Odigi, you have the Okomo Wildlife Sanctuary, you have, so many nice places there that we're looking at. Then down in Orion, you have the beautiful crystal clean water, the River Zigbagon, that we call it River Jameson, at Orion. And we're working on that to make sure that place is brought back to life and used for the resort that it is. Ogbemudia guest house is still there. We have the colonial buildings around there. Okay. And I've taken a lot of investors down there to look at this and think of what we need to do around that place. Okay. Then going down Edo Central, you have the Amara waterfalls, where you have the dirty water from Orioma and the clean water coming from Igwebe. They come together, they don't mix and flow parallel. That's a beautiful site to go to. Then you have the Udo Rest House in Igwebe. Then going down Edo North, you have the Sand Beach in Agenebode. Beautiful white sand that we can really have proper resorts and beach parties and all that there. Across the river, you see Kogi State, and beautiful scenario. Then down there, after that, you have the Ilewa Hills in Edo community in Okbila. Very high hill. It took us about 45 minutes, treacherous, to get to the top of the hills. And on top of the hill, you have a flat plateau. We walked another 45 minutes on top of the hill. Beautiful scenario that you can actually have a hotel and resort on top. And you have cable cars that will take you from down to, to the top, and even steps. In April, we're privileged, we're opportunity to be in Ogun State. And, we visited Oluma Rock. This lower hill is higher than Oluma Rock. Wow. So I was just imagine having that kind of steps, there at the lower hill. That would bring massive development, to this area. Then you have the Somorika Hills. You have the Ososo Hills, beautiful place. On top of the Ososo Hills, you have the a restaurant that is being managed by my predecessor, Princess Jamie Tola. She's doing a very good job there. So Ososo Hills is beautiful. Then down, you have the Crocodile Lakes at Lampesa. You have the Lewa Caves, in Fuga. Then you have the There's another cave in Owan West as well. So these are beautiful sites that we're bringing to the known, for people to appreciate. At that Fuga Cave, there's, you have where the early men stayed. They have their living room, their lounge, their bedroom.
Early men.
Early men. This is dated back to, over...
Way back in history.
Exactly. So we have all those skills that I want to bring to the known, because all these sites are there for us.
Okay.
I want to sell it. I'll let the world know that we have all these things. Value it, come back and spend the money here. We're doing all these things. We are promoting domestic tourism and turning Edo State into an economic hub of Africa, compensating its excellency for other infrastructural development that it's doing. You see bringing investors into Edo State that the excellency is doing, changing the narrative, making Edo State an industrial state rather than the civil servant state that is known for. And with all this, we're able to create jobs for our teeny youths, bring development to rural areas, and of course generate more IGR or revenue for the state government to invest in other departments. So that's our target. So contributing through tourism, is huge, is good, because tourism is a major market of employer. So we need to look at that. I'm glad that we are having His Excellency is focusing on that area now and supporting us very well through culture and tourism, because he knows the value of that, and through that we're able to create job for our people and add, value to the economy and make Edo State an economic hub.
What are your thoughts and perspectives on the feeling that in harnessing these potentials, the right infrastructures are not really there? For example, access roads. I've seen you several times with cutlasses, cutting grasses and all of that, just to be able to get to some of these places. Yes. What do you make of that? What's the level of response to those challenges?
It's fantastic. It's good. Yes, access roads are not there because people didn't know the value of all those sites before now. Now that we know the value, we look at the projection, how it is now and the potentials of those places. So of course we draw attention to it. Visiting Orion, for example, the road is bad. But if I've taken investors there, 3 different investors, they looked at it, they said the road is not an issue. And the state government is doing a lot because I've drawn its attention to it and is ready to fix it. Because it's not what the government can do alone. We need people through public-private partnership, investors to come. And once they see the potentials of those places, of course, they will invest in it. Then the roads will be a thing of the past. The governor has done a lot of roads across the state. So it's just prioritizing what we need to do and how we need to go about it. So those are not issues. When you are building a house, you lay foundations. People don't see that foundation. It's only the structure that they see. So that's exactly what His Excellency is doing now. So by the time all these investments, MOU, they sign, traveling, come to reality, infusion, they will benefit. But we're very happy that, this state will be more proud that we're from Edo State with all the plans that His Excellency is putting into place.
Okay. The amount of tourist sites, the level of the endowment in terms of arts and culture has made some people to say if Edo State decides to host a monthly cultural arts and tourism exhibition, it's possible.
Yeah. It's very possible because we have a lot. Our plan from the ministry is to have visitors coming into Edo State. And we can actually have people, can actually engage tourists for like a month. Because we have over 50-something, 58 to 60 tourists that we're still discovering more. Like the Unome community in Ovia Northeast, for example, where Queen Idia, the great Queen Idia, the mother of King Obaesige, fought the war with Arwan, Prince Arwan, is still there. Natural, preserved environment. The trees are still there, everything is still there. The clay pot that she used, to cook for the Udo warriors, the pieces of those clay pots are still there. The hut that Arwan buried his mom is still there. The stone that Arwan used is still there till date. I went there, saw them myself. And when then I told His Excellency, so we're going to fence that place around and make it an heritage site. So those people want to hear those kind of history. They want to learn those stories because, okay, Indian Mark, for example, is worth, it's our trademark now, was used in 1970, first started 77, and it's still the major icon and major trademark in Edo State and even in Nigeria. So people want to know the history of what actually happened, where it happened. So by the time you relate it to this site, it gives it value. You know, like you said, the tourists don't want to come here and see the beautiful edifices. They want to know, you know, that the site they are visiting have a history that they've heard or read in schools. So those are things that we're looking at, and we're making sure that, you know, we bring it to the norm, let people come in. If we do festival every other week, Edo State does that. They know that Edo State is richly blessed, and we can really engage our people. You know, a few months ago, almost a year ago, we did the Abba Festival in Igara. That was huge. And because of government involvement, all the jingles, the announcement, the government support and all that, we have over 1 million people coming to Akoko Edo for the Abba Festival, drum festival in Igara. And you know the economic value that adds, you know, to the economy. So those are the areas we're looking at.
Okay, talking about festival, last year we had the Edo Festival of Arts, Culture and Tourism. To what extent are we sustaining that to use it to be a rallying point for all of these heritage sites in Edo State? Oh,
very good. Last year we did it. I think it was a huge success, and plans is ongoing now for this year as well, where the Excellency graciously approved ministry to run it. We inaugurated a committee he inaugurated a committee, planning committee, and we'll be meeting, you know, severally, putting things into places to have a proper festival this year. Of course, it's going to be better and bigger than what we had last year. What we did last year was a test run of what is expected, and of course, it's going to be sustainable because people, Edo State again is richly blessed. I keep saying that, and people are looking forward to this kind of culture. And it's going to be a dual thing. It's going to be cultural based. The 18 local governments are going to be fully involved, just like the one we plan to have the cultural float of all the 18 local governments. You know, major Edo sons and daughters will have their bands, then convert at Bavorame Square, which is going to be one of the festival villages that we're using. And, you know, the governor, His Excellency, will declare it up, but that's day one. You know, and the theme of this year is enhancing arts culture for sustainable economic development. You know, and after the cultural float, Gather and Green Road, day one, the His Excellency will declare it open. Then in the evening, we plan to have photo exhibition. We have the ministry having record of over 1,000 of those stolen artifacts that were taken from Benin Empire in 1897 at their current location. If you go to Metropolitan Museum now in New York, there's a section, you know, related to Benin artifacts. So we have those pictures. You go to Berlin, London, France, Holland. So we want to show the world, because I have in my possession those pictures at their current location.
You have the picture, but you don't have the material.
No, I know where the materials are.
Okay.
I took pictures of the materials and their current location. So we're going to have a photo exhibition as part of this year's Edo Fest at the Palace of His Royal Majesty, Monoban Edo. So we have a photo exhibition there for that 5 or 6 days period of all those artifacts to tell you that this artifact is in New York, and, you know, and this is what it means to us. And we intend to call all the ambassadors, embassies, and all that, and draw the world attention to it, because this will further, further advocacy for the restitution of those artifacts. Because the whole world is talking about restitution and all that now, so that will push for it. So day 2 will be theater and stage drama of all the 18 local governments. We want to bring back all those stages, our history, our stories, all those drama, you know, and the festival villages. So we want to make sure that people really appreciate us, because doing that, we are teaching our children, you know, where we are and our culture and all that. So the 3 will be the lecture series at, you know, one of the venues that we're going to use. And in the evening, we'll have the cultural display again, whereby all the best of the best in the 18 local governments will come and entertain His Royal Majesty in the palace. Then day 4, we're looking at fashion and food competition, and in the evening we have the fashion design. The food in the morning, competition of all the 18 local government, and in the evening we have the fashion design. We need to have Miss Edo Fest this year. So day 5, we have the gala nights, where we appreciate those sons and daughters that have contributed to the growth and development of arts and culture in the state. Then of course day 6, you know, we'll have a mega concert.
Musical concert.
Musical concert, yeah.
Are you going to be involving artists outside the door, or this will be you know, locally based? So
the focus is going to be locally based. I'm going to focus more on our local based, our old artists that have performed. But I mean, we need to spice it up.
Absolutely.
We have a young generation that is looking at it, so even adult daughters and sons and daughters that are from here that are performing in Lagos, that are mega stars, we need to bring them to spice it up. And that's after during the 6 as well is the diaspora day. You know, the diaspora people, most of them will be in the country at that time in Benin. So I want to give them, you know, a day as part of the festival. All the school children, we've written letter to the schools. We're inviting the school children to be part of this year's Edo Fest. Cultural display, drama, and all that, because it's a dope thing.
Absolutely.
So it's a full package, you know, this year, and it's something that we need to look forward to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There have been concerns about what is supposed to be something like a rallying point for arts, culture activities in Edo State, which is the cultural center. Is there any plan in place to maybe revamp that place for it to be what it used to be in terms of being that rallying point for some of these cultural activities?
Yeah, sure. Like you know, what is happening here now is, you know, is a temporary thing. The buses, because of the bus terminal stations that the government is building around the Obavora squares and other areas, they decide to use that place for a temporary bus stop, because people don't really understand. There's no way we can turn that edifice into a car park. It's just temporary. The plan that the state government has for that by the time those terminal bus stations are built, there will be new mini buses that will be plying at the Benin City. Mini buses, brand new, that will be plying Benin City. And these 2K buses will be taken out of Benin. The drivers are going to be employed from there. So that then the cultural center will be refurbished, rebranded, you know, into the world edifice that it is. So what they do, we need to be patient. It's just a temporary thing. Of course, we are paying as a ministry. His Majesty is worried about, everybody is worried about, and the governor is doing all he can to make sure that these terminal bus stations are built within time. Again, it's something you can rush into. These are plans that will take time, you know, and as soon as those things are done, will be, you know, be resolved.
Okay, so at 58, what's your best wish for Nigeria? Well,
I think I wish Nigeria many more better years, and I hope that in the next few years that we'll celebrate and be happy, you know, because whatever has happened in the past is past. We're looking at the present and the future.
Absolutely.
So I'm very hopeful that the country will get better, and, you know, we'll be very happy and proud that we're Nigerians.
All right, thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I've been talking with Osaze Oserengero, the Honorable Commissioner for Arts, Culture, Tourism, and Diaspora Affairs, sharing some thoughts with us on Nigeria at 58, harnessing arts, culture, tourism, and of course even diaspora input in the development of the country. Of course, with all the potentials available in Edo State, we hope that the efforts being made now will be fast-tracked in a way, so the dividends will become more visible to everyone. Once again, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Thanks again for staying with me on the program. Well, Nigeria at 58, how's the journey been so far? I have two guests here. One, a regular some time ago on this platform, particularly with Politics Today. I'd like to thank very especially Remy Yusuf. Many thanks for joining us. Happy Independence Anniversary.
Thank you very much indeed, Sonny. It's very wonderful. Happy Independence Day.
How have you been?
With me or with Nigeria?
With you.
Okay, with me. I mean, my face speaks for itself. I think it's been so very wonderful.
All right.
Then later on, we'll talk about how it has been with the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Absolutely, absolutely. I also have with us here a politician, Jimmy, Barrister Jimmy Osagede. Barrister Jimmy, thanks for joining us on the program. How are you doing?
Everything's fine.
Okay. Okay.
I'll go for life.
All right. Well, let me start with you, Barrister Jimmy. Nigeria at 58. I know that we are not where we ought to be, but what do you think, in your opinion, what are the key issues that have taken us thus far here, in your opinion?
Well, looking at the age of Nigeria, for me, it's very practical because I'm exactly 58.
Today?
Today's my
Is today your birthday?
Yes.
Wow! Wow! Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
You know, as the colonial masters were handing over the instrument of independence to Nigeria, at the race course in Lagos, my mom was in the labor ward giving birth to me.
Wow.
So assessing Nigeria, you know, is also like a fair assessment of myself. I see how many decades I have come through. I see what I have become in life, and I look at Nigeria. You know, at the onset, you know, the ideas were very laudable ideas. Things seem to be going very smoothly. I remember those days in Nigeria as a little kid when we had the ECN, for instance, Electric Corporation of Nigeria. There was no power failure. You know, as you are building your house, the power man will come and ask you, you know, sign up for a meter. It was as good as that. And the government provided potable water. You know, you didn't need to sink a borehole. If you were intelligent, you get a scholarship. And many countries in the world, as in Nigeria, you didn't need a visa to go because the economy was so ebullient. And those days, those who went abroad for further studies always came back home. I have people in my, you know, my immediate family, because it was more profitable
to be home
working,
rather than stay abroad working.
You earn more money working in Nigeria than, you know, working abroad. So Nigeria had a very bright future. But on the other hand, why have we not reached the heights and the goals we set for ourselves? I see two basic problems: leadership and followership. You know, maybe we always hinge it on leadership, but the followership is also a problem. You know, let's expunge the years of military interregnum and look at the years of you know, civilians ruling Nigeria. Now, you know, democracy is a wonderful opportunity for people to reach their goals, in the sense that when you have leaders who are not able to accomplish the tasks they set for themselves, the manifestos are not forthcoming, then you wait for them for the next election. That is why I include the leadership. Why are we still recycling, you know, the old people, the same old people that plunged Nigeria into this, you know, terrible situation? So I feel very strongly that if a leader in politics, for instance, has not done well, you don't send that leader back. You know, but you know, there are so many issues.
So many factors coming into play.
Responsible. The economic factor is there.
Yeah.
You know, people jump at any carrots. You know, not minding the person has a stick. You know, I would like to stop there.
Okay, thank you. I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. Now, Pastor Remy, you've had a privilege of interacting with some of our heroes past. I mean, people in the mode of the Awolowas, the Zigs. You know, you've had interactions with them. You work with people who work closely with them. If we are now here in our social, political, and economic development, doesn't mean nothing came from those generations to the current crop of generations that we have in the helms of affairs.
Thank you so very much indeed, Sonny. I will try as much as possible to avoid blame game. I'll look at Nigeria, unfortunately, and very unfortunately, I'll tell you, sir, that whether we are where we are supposed to be or not is not the issue. The issue is that there are foundational errors. And except we begin to look at those foundational errors, we will never ever get to where we are supposed to be. I have seen a better Nigeria. And I say to people that I have seen a better Nigeria, that was once upon a time a better Nigeria, like he rightly ran down, and beautifully, he is also 58. But you can see development. You went through the university, you went through the processes, and by the grace of God, today you're a lawyer. And that, of course, and me, your family is very proud of you. But are we proud of Nigeria? One thing that I will tell you is that the big names that you mentioned, the Awolowas and the Azikiwes and the Sardauna Sokoto and the Ibrahim Imam and the Deep Charimas and all those big names, they existed under one very important administrative system. Nigeria started with a parliamentary system of government. And of course, in those days, in the Western House of Assembly, I was very familiar with them. I knew the place inside out. And I saw how the players played the game. All along they came and they never cultivated the idea of raising people who would take over what they knew. So they all left without passing what they conceived to the generation that came. So when we came into the presidential system of government, unfortunately we came barren. And so the systems had to come now through the people who unfortunately and up till today are simply self-centered. So we are not talking about the system. There has never been a political system, for instance, in Nigeria, that has a foundation that is based on something, no ideological setup. There is not one single political party out of about 49 or 59 or whatever it is that we have at the moment that makes Nigeria the center point.
Over 90 something, and then there's still about 140 applications
pending. You have to
pending.
first of all sit down and talk about the nation at the center point.
Yeah.
If you don't have a center point, a personal center point, your life will not be what it is today. You are Sonny Duke Okosun, and we all know you to be so. We all know you to be a very competent person in this system because you have the system and you have yourself. And there is, of course, a merger between yourself and this system.
Yeah.
Nigeria does not have that. At the moment, if you look at the federal setup and all the state governments, not the individuals, sir, they don't have anything. They come with their budgets, they come with whatever it is, but the political parties that actually install them, sir, have no real manifesto. They are not guided by principles. Principles that you call this principle, for instance, is aimed at achieving this. It is that I am the man and I'm supposed to be there. And
I'm in charge. So whatever I decide,
whatever I decide is decided. And of course, it has to be my family first.
Let me come to you in a moment.
Yes.
Barrister Osegeda, you said a while ago that if a leader has failed, it doesn't need to be given another opportunity. Yeah. In other words, your model in terms of proper solution is to show those who have not been able to deliver the exit door. Could you build on that?
You see, if you look at Nigeria from 1960 up to this very morning, this October 1st of 2018, you see we have a plethora of leaders who were soldiers. You know, soldiers are not trained to be administrators. Soldiers are trained to give orders. And apart from being just soldiers, you have ex-soldiers who were involved in coup at one time or the other. You know, you have soldiers who were found wanting in the areas of their duties and responsibilities, that, you know, people, you know, wanted them crucified. And, you know, you have some of them that during their regime, you see, I'm making deliberate effort not to mention names. Yeah. Some of them during their regime, to get a tin of picnic, you have to line up for a whole day, essential commodities. And some of these people have come back, and, you know, some of them have been there for quite some time. You see, what I mean is that if you have such people in their first coming, they did not impact positively on the lives of the people. Why do you clamor that they should come and rule you again? That is where the economic factor comes in. You know, Nigeria is one of the richest countries in the world, but Nigerians are one of the poorest. It's a big contrast, you know. So when they come with their money bags, people are easily enticed. They want to, you know, sing your praises, and they want to say you are the saint and the rest of them. Those are basic problems that we have. But when I look back at the history of Nigeria, I remember when I was in the secondary school, as we call it those days, your list of books were not only books. You also had list of tools. You have to buy hammer, you have to buy a chisel, you have to buy, you know, some materials, because in school, apart from, you know, the classwork, we go to the workshop. You learn carpentry, you learn sewing, you learn, you know, all sort of trades.
Just to acquire some skills.
Exactly. That is what Plato refers to as the total man. You know, that is the essence of educating a human being. So by the time you grow up, for instance, all those trades, they are still inherent in me, for instance. Before I take my car to the mechanic workshop, I must do first aid. Yeah, because those ideas are still there. You know, you are Peter, you come to my house, I'll correct you. Look at what you are doing and the rest of them. You know, those are the technical foundations that we deviated from. You know, when the new national policy of education came up, and you know, we now had 2 tiers of government education, junior secondary and senior secondary. Those things were jettisoned, but on paper they are there. I remember those days in Benin, for instance, you have the Benin Technical College, you have the trade center at Saple. So when you come out, you get people who are, you know, they are clamoring to employ you. Because apart from the intellectual capacity, your hands are busy.
Absolutely.
You're able to manipulate.
Absolutely.
You know, so the division, if Nigeria is waiting, you know, to import technology, it doesn't work. You have to steal technology. You know, as far back as 1920, Japanese, they already had a subway system, underground railway. 1920, before the war, you know, they sent, at the end of 1945, they sent their people all over the world, you know, for engineering to Germany, for law to England, and they all came back. All Nigerians who school abroad were coming back. But the management of these intellectual capacity that have been brought back to Nigeria was a problem. Nigeria is not the only country that has multi-ethnicity. It's all over the place. Even in America itself, you have the native Indians. You know, the disparity is there. But when there is no provision for, you know, level playing field, where you don't have to know somebody to get something, you know, the country cannot move forward. But I don't think hope is lost for Nigeria.
Okay, I'll come to you. When you say you don't think hope is lost, with all the plethora of challenges that you enumerate, I'll come back to you on that. Pastor Remy, in dealing with these issues, I mean, we are here now. There's nothing anybody, I mean, my first guest said this morning, all that has happened in the past really belongs to the past. We have today and we have the future. Charting a new course for Nigeria, where should we start it from?
Charting a new course for Nigeria, there is no way you talk about newness without the old. Nigeria started from somewhere, and we began very well. Believe you me, we started very well. Oh, you're blaming the military, I'm blaming, but let me tell you, I'm not here to defend them. I have no business with them. But I know that before the war broke out, there was one thing that the administration of Yakubu Gowon did. They listened to people and they used the same permanent secretaries, the Alice and Aidas. If you remember very well, they are Alice and Aida, so many of them, longer, so many permanent secretaries, they retained them. And these were men and women, sir, who really went to school. And they allowed school to go through them. So it's one thing for you to go through school. It's yet another for you to allow school, the system go through you. They were thoroughly processed. And of course, they spoke to the head of state at that time, and they told him about Obafemi Awolowo, who at that time was at the Calabar prisons. So he was granted whatever it was that the federal government granted him, and he was drafted into the system. And I tell you, it was because of the wisdom and sagacity of that gentleman, sir, that Nigeria won the war. We still would have been somewhere else. But now, if we're talking about the old, then let us look at what we are practicing at the moment and where the problems are. Now, first and foremost, the leader, the governor of the state is the leader of his political party. You have taken, sir, the power away from the chairman of the party. And it is the party that voted you into power. I want to say, if we're serious about this, let us actually get down and look at the things really. In the olden days, in the parliamentary system of government, first of all, as he said, you don't just throw a politician out of office. The party will sit down and call him to order. We didn't send you there to do what you are doing
right now.
It is not the policy of the party. You cannot bring your policy into the system. There has been the system. There was the political party that voted you into power. And of course, they will tell you, sir, you are not the leader of the party. The leader of the party, sir, and the executive will sit down, look at your policies, and simply ask you, sir, you have a mandate just go there and do what exactly is the policy of the party. There is nothing like that now. The governor is the leader, the governor is the governor. So the political party, unfortunately, is now tied to the apron string of the executive. Where is the control? So there has to be the principles of the separation of powers.
Between the governor and the party structure?
Between the governor and the party structure.
Okay.
Indeed, the governor in those days was responsible to the party. The party controlled the state. The party controlled the nation. So if we're going to do anything, sir, there has to be master-servant relationship.
Now, would you say what you just said now is in any way near what's happening in the governorship tussle in Lagos State as to who becomes what in the race to... Yes.
You raised that's a very sensitive issue, but it is not as sensitive as people think it should be. Now, there is a gentleman who is governor of the state and who is absolutely convinced about his position. The man did not want anybody to dictate to him. He has been given an authority. He has been given a mandate to run Lagos State according to the principles of the party. If the principles were absolutely enunciated and given to him, somebody came from outside, no matter who, including Mr. Wire and Mr. Zay coming from Abuja and getting together to determine the fate of an elected governor. You have abused the electorate, my dear brother. Allow the man to face them, and the people will tell him, sorry, we voted you there because we wanted you to do 1, 2, 3, 4. You failed us. You have no right to come back. And then they have a right of choice. But look at the man now. The man said, I know what I have done, and I know that my people want me back. And I want to face them. I am not saying that you don't have the authority, but let us face the electorate. If they want me, they will get me back. If they don't want me, it is up to them. It is not your right. And the man is right.
Okay.
And you will see, if they allow him to face the people of Lagos State, sir, and there is no rigging. And thank God that rigging was used by a very, very important person, even though he says sorry, but the thing had actually come. And I'm not trying to be pastoral. From the abundance of the heart,
the mouth speaks. let me bring you in, because you said in all of these there is hope. Give us your perspectives. What are your thoughts?
First and foremost, as a pastor, I'm also a pastor.
Okay.
I know Pastor Remy very well.
Okay.
Spirit alive.
Yeah.
You know, the Bible says in Proverbs 29:2 that when the wicked rules,
the people rejoice.
the people suffer.
The people suffer. Yeah. When the righteous rule, the people rejoice. Yeah.
So I just took it from the other side. You know, what I mean by saying that we have hope is the fact that we have the intellectual capacity to rebuild Nigeria. But the main problem with Nigeria is the faulty federal system. The federal system, as you know, as a lawyer, you know, there are principles that makes up federalism. I know that those principles are not in Nigeria; they are only on paper. If you look at the kind of federalism in America, in other countries where we tend to borrow our political system from, it's not the way we have in Nigeria.
Certainly
the basic problem here is the resource control. It's a situation where somebody who has an oil well at the back of his house cannot have access to potable drinking water, whereas thousands of miles away, that the money from the back of your house is building mansions for others. You know, it leaves more to be desired. You know, those days, as we were growing up, some of the things that we learned in primary and secondary school were, you know, granite pyramid in the north, we have cocoa in the west, you know, and oil was just coming up, and
in the south.
In the south. Palm oil.
Yeah, palm oil, you know, so on and so forth. Now, at that time, those resources were funding the financial requirement of those regions until the oil boom. Of course, we had the head of state who went abroad and said that the problem of Nigeria was not the money, it was how to spend it those days. You know, so when the boom came, the petrodollar started flowing. People started returning, you know, leaving their farms, you know, and the rest, until we go back.
Go back to what now?
Until we go back to basics. and rearrange Nigeria. People call it restructuring.
Okay.
Let us restructure Nigeria. Let the people who own oil in their communities exploit the oil and pay tax to the federal government. Let those who have cocoa pay tax to the federal government. Let those who have granite pay tax. Yeah, that's what happens. So when you have that, you make deliberate effort to develop the resources in your locality, no matter the type of resources that you have. So if you are able to do that and then maybe lastly, I'll just add that we should listen to the new crop of leaders that are clamoring for power. By that I mean we should listen to the new generation. We always say that the
youths are leaders of tomorrow. Yeah.
And those who have been there since yesterday, they don't want to leave the tomorrow for the youth. There are people who have beautiful ideas. They are coming up. I don't want to talk about my political inclination here because we are here talking about Nigeria.
Yeah.
I'm running for election in a few days' time.
Okay.
Nomination. My campaign, for instance, talking about the problem of Nigeria has been based on ideas.
Okay.
What will you benefit if I represent you? Not somebody sitting somewhere and say, oh, this person because of ulterior motive.
Yeah.
So we have to reorganize ourselves, look inward, and then rearrange the country.
Okay. Yeah, final thoughts. Nigeria at 58, your best wishes for the country.
Well, my best wishes. Best wishes. I mean, this is simple grammar. But before we end, let us take this question of restructuring. Even as my friend here has very beautifully painted it. If you get the Western region to go back to cocoa at the moment sells at a very fantastic rate, even on the world market.
Yeah.
And of course, there is nothing wrong. But sir, the same Chief Obafemi Awolowo was the premier of Western region, and cocoa was the mainstay of the economy at that time. And he was able to utilize resources coming from that sector, sir, to build the Western region. The Liberty Stadium, the WNBS, WNBS, WNTV, and Cocoa House, and so on. The same thing with Azikiwe and Michael Opara in the east. The same thing with Sardauna of Sokoto and others in the north. They developed Nigeria according to their knowledge, according to the love for the people. And he said something which is very, very important. The youth, unfortunately, I want to say this, that they are not as pushful as they ought to be. A poor man doesn't have a say in Nigeria today. Money determines the future of every program that you have. The youth themselves should labor and then get themselves financially buoyant so that they can go in. If you think somebody is coming to inaugurate you, sir, forget it, not in Nigeria. And the Bible confirms this in Matthew 11:12, that from the days of John the Baptist up till now, the kingdom of God suffered violence, and it is only the violent that take it by force.
Okay.
We're not talking about guns. We're not talking about militarism.
No.
We're talking about education.
Yeah.
We're talking about militarism, not in the sense of the soldiers coming. The soldiers came, they were very young when they came, but unfortunately, they found power, they got hold of power, they didn't know what to do with power, they messed up power, and they landed us where we are at the moment. So let their children and their wives and the concubines and the people they left behind now know that here the youth that went to the universities that come out, sir. Oh, they did it in Congo. You remember the case of Patrice Lumumba, that he was able to come out. Of course, he did what he could do. And United Nations threw Dag Hammarskjöld. If you remember this story, there's no way we can forget these things. Got rid of Patrice Lumumba. And that is why Congo is where we are today. You cannot talk about Amilcar Cabral and the other people who fought for the independence of their countries in Africa. Let Nigeria go back to the basics. There are political parties. Let there be ideological, very strong ideological viewpoints for the political parties. Let them talk about Nigeria and let them talk about the best. And so, sir, 59, welcome back, and the story would have been different.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Pastor Remy, I hijacked him and brought him here today. I mean, he came for something else. But you can agree with me that the purpose was not defeated at all, because I have knowledge of the fact that Pastor Remy has a very strong history a strong knowledge about Nigerian history, having worked at that level as a media practitioner for several years, even though he's gone into full-time ministry. Pastor May, thank you so much for the time you shared with us. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that's our show. Thank you for staying with us. Big thanks to everyone that made the show a huge success. Bye for now.